What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I want to talk to you guys today about Barry Hearn. Barry Hearn was replacing Eddie Hearn in the press conference between Dillian Whyte and Oscar Rivas, right? And, Barry, I can see where Eddie gets it from. The smooth talk, the way with words, the smoothness of how he makes a delivery. This guy really is a talker. He really broke down what's going on in the heavyweight division, why the heavyweight division is where it's at. You have different broadcasting companies from ESPN with the Disney money, Al Heyman, of course, with PBC. You have The Zone, of course, is a new streaming platform. And these guys are ready to fight. And how Dillian Whyte is different from a lot of the fighters that are fighting in the heavyweight division to this day. And he stated, well, Dillian Whyte could be sitting on his ass having some cold ones, waiting for 6 months to see what the WBC does. And he also attacked the WBC, but he did it in his own smooth way. He basically said, the WBC, they've been movable. They've done some strange things. There's no reason that Dominic Brazil is a mandatory for Deontay Wilder, and while they're sorting everything out with the WBC, Dillian Whyte should be sitting on his ass, but instead he's taking harder fights or difficult fights with difficult opponents. And he mentioned Oscar Rivas. He mentioned, he's an undefeated fighter. No one has defeated him, so he knows no mental concept of losing. I thought that was a good point that he made. And he also called him like a heavyweight Chris Eubank. Look at him with his smooth clothes and, his jacket and all that. So, he was really hyping up the fighter. And he took a little time subliminally to throw shade at Tyson Fury. Saying, well, Tyson Fury passed on the opportunity to fight Oscar Rivas. And now he was supposed to fight a top 10 fighter. But in fact, he's fighting a guy that is ranked 93 on BoxRec, which is Tom Schwartz. So he took a lot of time to do that. So he blasted the WBC. He blasted Tyson Fury for his choices in opponent coming onto the ESPN platform. So he took that time to do that. He said he feels like Frank Sinatra making a comeback, because, Barry Hearn doesn't really do this stuff no more. It's really Eddie, but Eddie got caught up and Eddie wanted him there. And I think he did a good job. I think, Eddie's a chip off the old block, and the block is Barry Hearn. We know why. From listening to Barry Hearn in this press conference, we know why he was able and was successful while he was running shit at Matchroom. He also went on to say that that Dillian Whyte is not the best of friends with him, but he does like him. He does respect him. Now, the crazy thing about that, he was like, well, back in my day, we used to be the slave masters. And I'm like, oh, shit, did you just say that? Now, mind you, you guys that know, this is on regular television over there in the UK. So when he said this, my mouth dropped. I'm like, oh, shit, did he say we used to be the slave masters? And those fighters used to work for us and we called the shots. Now everything is turned around and now we got to call him Mr. Dillian Whyte now. It wasn't like that when I was running things or back in my time. So I just thought that was really crazy. And I got to counterpunch that. That is one of the boldest things someone has ever really said about promoters. I mean, you would never fathom Bob Arum saying some shit like that, or Oscar De La Hoya saying some shit like that. You know what I mean? And it's very peculiar to me that Deontay Wilder chose those words. So when when that gets back to him, you know he's going to go ape shit. That's going to be another imaginary roadblock on why that fight between him and Joshua won't happen. I guarantee it. See, he even says slave master. See, he admits he's a slave master. They still the slave master to this day. I can't wait. It's going to, you watch when the LDBC hears this shit. Uh-oh. Somebody got to pay. So, you know, that was some crazy words. I would have never used those words, but he did. You know, and it was crazy that he used those words, but he was showing the differences of how things are different now. And especially dealing with someone like Dillian Whyte that manages himself, that won't fall or just go for anything that you throw at him. You know, he was giving Dillian Whyte props on how things has changed. He's the example of that new age fighter. You know, that smart fighter, the one that uses his head instead of his balls, you know? So it's a difference right now on how you have to treat a fighter. In fact, it's the promoter works for the fighter because like Barry Hearn said, so many people were after Dillian Whyte. They were after him like for many reasons. Everywhere from PBC was after him, ESPN was after him, and then, you know, he is fighting with Matchroom fight by fight basis. And that's a smart move. You know, the same move that Anthony Joshua uses. He's not fighting on the zone as a long, like, Canelo contract. He's doing that shit fight by fight. So Dillian Whyte was smart for doing that. And then that was Barry's way of saying, you know, good job. And that was a very smart move because I know he's thinking, hell, if I was a fighter, I'd be doing the same thing. And another thing I gotta mention that Barry said, which this should stick, okay? He said, loyalty, if you want loyalty, buy a dog or get a dog. Because there's no loyalty in this business. You have to maximize your assets, your advantages. You have to get all the money you can being a prize fighter. And he's absolutely right. See, someone should have applied that shit to or really spoke that doctrine to Deontay Wilder, to Gervonta Tank Davis, to a lot of talent, and especially those guys, regarding an opportunity. And then, of course, Barry says it in his own way, and he said it like, hey, you know, you want loyalty, buy a dog. He was referring to Deontay and those choices that he made to stay with PBC. But then yet, I don't even think he's allowed to even say what they're giving him. That's one of the stipulations. So if that ain't a fucking slave wage or slave contract, I don't know what it is. Imagine asking a slave, how much do you get paid? I can't tell you. What? You can't tell me? Huh. How do we know you're getting paid then? So that was a very good point that he put in. There's no loyalty in making money. There's no loyalty in business. It's a business decision. The shit shouldn't be taken personally. Okay, and that goes for everyone. Look at Golovkin and Abel Sanchez. That shit was over money. It wasn't personal, I don't think. But Golovkin made a business decision. You know, a lot of people think it's some dirtbag shit. Well, okay. But still, at the end of the day, it was about business. It was about money. So that's the point that he made. And he respects Dillian Whyte because he knows Dillian Whyte can go elsewhere. You know what I mean? After this Rivas fight, he can go to PBC. You know? He could go anywhere. He could go over to ESPN and set up a fight with Fury, possibly. Okay? So that is that about Barry Hearn. Again, you know, the guy's a smooth talker. He just, that slave, he was the slave master, old slave master shit. How they used to do things. He said things were much easier back then. You know. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's some crazy shit to say. But, you know, for the most part, he got his point across. He showed why he was who he was at Matchroom. Good substitute. And people that have wisdom or age or what's the word? Vintage people. They don't give a shit what they say. Bob Arum, he said some crazy shit too. So, you know what I mean? That you get to a point in an age, you just don't give a shit on what you say. You say it regardless of how anyone feels about it. Don't have to be a touchy subject. And that's what I got from Barry also. Along with the smoothness and the subliminal talking and the way he delivered things and said things, but at the same time talk shit. But it was a good press conference. Of course, I'll leave the link below. Let you guys check it out. Please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.